Do you want an amazing marriage? Are you ready to take your marriage to the next level? Then stick around for Your Marriage Matters podcast with marriage coach Lynn. Let's put some fun and sizzle into your relationship.
So you've decided to get married, or maybe you're getting close. Congratulations! Now what? How will you prepare for your marriage? Many people get caught up in preparing for the wedding day, but how will you prepare for the marriage? I remember when I got engaged, I thought, oh, how fantastic. We can take our time selecting a date. We've made a big decision. We have a lot of freedom. 3 days later, we were looking at dates and selected July 6th, which meant we were going to have a 5-month engagement period. It turned out well, just enough time to plan a decent wedding and to make arrangements for life after marriage. We weren't rushed, and it wasn't overwhelming. It helps that my husband and I are quick decision makers. At the time, we were living in Texas in separate apartments in the same development, working in the same company. The wedding would be in Connecticut, my place of birth and original hometown. My mother and sister did a lot of the wedding planning with my input and approval. Bob and I could focus on marriage preparation. We got married in a Catholic church, and at the time, a major preparation was to meet with a happily married couple who would serve as mentors. Once a week for 7 weeks, we met with the couple for a few hours and discussed various topics. We had homework in between sessions, and some of the topics were an explanation of the sacrament of matrimony, that marriage is a lifelong covenant, and what a marital commitment involved. We talked about love as a decision, not a feeling. We talked about children and what happens in marriage when children enter the picture. We talked about finances, communication, sex, the wedding day, and even divorce. I was grateful to this couple, and it was a very helpful part of our marriage prep. I highly recommend finding mentors who've been happily married for over 20 years. Preparing for marriage is going to depend on your values and your beliefs. You are preparing for a lifetime commitment, not a one-day event. What is important for you to prepare for your lifetime commitment? What do you envision spiritually or religiously in your marriage? How will you prepare? Different religions have different requirements and procedures. Work on improving your habits. That's another big one. The habits you have now will carry on into your marriage. Let's say you're lazy and don't keep your room or apartment clean. Well, I hope you're ready to change some of those ways when you move in with your spouse. Speaking of moving in, there will be some logistics to consider. Who is moving in with who? Does it involve a move across town or to another state? You might have to consider your job situation and time your move in a way that wouldn't stress you out too much with the wedding day and all of that. In fact, if you have a demanding job, will you be able to take some time off? A marriage is a huge life change, worthy of spending time together and getting off on the right start. Maybe a December holiday wedding is good timing, with a built-in 2-week window from work or school if you're studying to allow for a wedding, move, and a possible honeymoon. For many people, it is stressful to plan a wedding, to move, and to go on a honeymoon within a close period of time. So I said that my husband and I lived in Texas and we got married in Connecticut. Well, at our wedding, we had many relatives traveling from all around the country to attend the wedding. We wanted to visit with these relatives, so what we did was we chose a short honeymoon to Boston for 2 nights, and then we returned to Connecticut for more time with the relatives who had traveled. 6 months later, we took a 1-week cruise during New Year's Eve. So that is what we considered our real honeymoon, our bigger, more luxurious honeymoon, so to speak. It was good for us to split it up and to take that honeymoon 6 months later, especially since we traveled for our wedding, the wedding day. So what you want to do with this whole scenario as you prepare for marriage is you want to reduce stress during the engagement process. And you want to reduce it whenever possible. With the wedding day coming and the new marriage, there's going to be a lot to adjust to. If you have children from a previous relationship or a prior marriage, You're going to want to talk about expectations and intentions of how you will incorporate other relationships. Depending on the demographics where you, your partner, and your partner's relatives or their parents live, the engagement period can be a time where the in-laws get together and meet. Marriage includes a blending of families, and wouldn't it be great for family members to meet and begin to form friendships? I know many people who did this. Once the engagement happened, the groom's parents and the bride's parents, all 6 of them, went out to dinner and got to know each other and spent a little time together. Do you and your partner understand the dynamics of the family you come from and from your partner's context? We are a compilation of the families we grew up in, and understanding some of the complexities of your partner's childhood is critical. So remember to continue your conversation about children, what you believe at this point in time. Do you want kids? Are you in alignment? What about the raising of children? What are your beliefs? Do you want a gentle natural birth, breastfeeding, homeschooling, attachment parenting? Will the wife go back to work 6 weeks postpartum? And will the baby be put in daycare? Are there family expectations of attending a certain public or private school because that's what the family's done for the last 3 generations? It would be nice if your partner knew what was on your mind and vice versa. I would recommend some type of preparation, whether it's online, at your church, with a private counselor or a coach. Spend quality time together. Take breaks and do new things to completely take your mind off of wedding planning. That's really important. I mean, a lot of fights can emerge and a lot of tension when there are disagreements, or when you think you're going to spend a certain amount of money and then you find that the costs are almost tripling. And so you need to just get away from all of that wedding planning, because that's going to cloud, it's just going to put a burden onto your relationship. So have many times like escape routes where you just get away from it and vow not to talk about the wedding and just go out for a hike or just go somewhere and take your mind off of it. You really want to distance yourself from negative people or people with poor attitudes about marriage. This is your time to prepare for an amazing new shift in your life. Be courageous and continue to get things out in the open that you might have been avoiding or neglecting. Talk about the importance of an us perspective to life rather than I. I talked about this in another podcast episode. Talk about how you will maintain independence and independent interests. What is expected as far as together time and a joint approach to life. And it's just something you need to merge and blend together, independent time with time together. Marriage prep is a good time to get a full physical. I don't think people really think of this. But if you haven't had a physical in a while to see if there are any health issues, I think it just would be a great idea to do that, even whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Basically, the marriage prep is also a time to share your financial details and expectations. I didn't want to talk too much about planning a wedding on this episode, but what I do is I meet more and more millennials who say that they will have a wedding that they can afford. I think that's wonderful, to keep a budget what you can afford. Or if you agree upon charging some expenses, as long as you're agreed upon it and it's not out of control and that you have a plan for paying it back. I think it's great to pay as you go, though, and not accrue debt for a one-day event. Some people put off getting married because they can't afford the wedding they envision. Isn't that sad? I know many, many people who do that there are a lot of extended family expectations, and our culture really puts an emphasis on the extravagant, the wedding, the dreamy wedding, and it's just really out of reach for many people. So consider a wedding that you can afford. You can become very resourceful and downgrade your luxury expectations. An expensive wedding can cause stress. Marriage preparation means you are preparing for your life together before the official commitment. Is there anything I forgot here? Let me know. I'm thinking I'm covering most of the bases, but there might be something. How did you prepare for your marriage? Did you take separate trips and spend time apart with close friends and relatives during your marriage prep? That's always a fun thing to do. You're sort of your last days of being single, and so you might want to take a mother-daughter trip or something like that. Did you downsize and get rid of some things that were no longer going to serve you in your married life? So to recap, what you're doing is you're beginning to merge two lives into one. So begin to shift your thinking into us rather than I. Two families are blending together, whether or not you like it. If you choose to, if you are in close proximity to your parents, get together with your future in-laws and form friendships. A marriage of two people becomes part of a greater community. So do what you can to build a supportive community. During preparation, continue to talk about your values, beliefs, and priorities. Share your goals, hopes, and dreams. Keep moving in a direction of creating the best self you can and eliminate bad habits. Get a physical or share important aspects of your medical history with your partner if you haven't already done so. Your partner deserves to have everything out in the open, including your financial status. Consider the logistics of the wedding day, honeymoon, and moving in together and establishing a household. Try to reduce stress and select a time frame where everything isn't happening all at once. I wish you the best if you are at the beginning stages of your marriage or if a family member is preparing for this amazing journey. Until next time, make your marriage great.